All right, let's go live. Yo, Miles.
Yo!
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry. We always start with the sound check.
check
dear.
check 1, check 2. Somebody in the chat, tell us who's louder.
I should probably go put some pants on. 1 second.
No, dude, come on, man. This is
casual
Friday. Casual.
Pants means something different in the UK. Do you know this? We always talk differences as much as you love these differences.
What do you guys do? You don't really say knickers, do you? That sounds outdated.
No. But pants is like underpants. Like, so when people go, "Oh, I haven't got my pants on," I'm like, "Whoa, is that legal?" Like, yeah.
Nice.
Like, we just call them like jeans or trousers. Do you say trousers over there? I mean we don't. Really
not since trousers. Like the 50s, I don't think.
Yeah.
We've evolved. You've just stayed stagnant.
I love that every week, Brian, we do sort of like comparison of the week.
Yeah.
Comparison of the week.
And if you only knew how much I thoroughly enjoyed it. All right, man. Let's start the show.
Catch you later.
This is PSVR GamesCast Live, where we film live every single Monday, West Day, and 2 Wise Friday right here on PSVR without Parole. Guys, you're here. You're watching it live right here, right now. Fill in the rest of the lyrics. If you're watching it live, that means you're here at 6 p.m. Eastern, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you're not watching it live, well, there may be timestamps in the description below, provided by our good friend Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry. And if you don't care about watching it live, then lucky you, because you don't have to stare at us, and you can go to podcast services of your choice and listen to this thing wherever you want to listen to it. I swear, it's there somewhere. My name is Brian Paul from this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole. And to my right, the lovely as always, Miles 2 Wise Dyer from Miles Dyer Official.
What up, everyone? How's it going, Game Cats? Hope you all had a lovely week. I don't know what it's been like in your part of the world. Here in the UK, it has been hot. We were in the triple figures in Fahrenheit, because I know that's how a lot of you like to do it around the world. Got to 104 on Tuesday. My goodness, it was tough. And I've loved working remotely from home after the pandemic. But a heat wave is when you realise one of the benefits of working in an office. It comes with air conditioning. And as we've spoken about before, not a lot of homes come with air conditioning here in the UK. So I have a portable one. It did the trick a little bit, but yeah, it was really tough. And fortunately, it's got a lot cooler since. I mean, it's still like quite warm, but you know, it's like half of what it was on Tuesday. So it feels just right. So yeah, I just hope everyone's been staying cool and safe, because heat isn't fun and it can be dangerous if you don't take care of yourself.
For sure. Yeah, we want to make sure that everybody's absolutely safe and taking care of themselves and staying hydrated. Dude, I mean, we haven't even hit triple digits over here, but we finally did begin the heat wave here in Massachusetts. I somehow avoided it for the longest time, and now it's just been kind of miserable, and we're only in like the mid-90s. It's kind of crazy, man, so I'm not looking forward to getting caught up to you guys. Hopefully the summer ends before we know it. Always looking forward to. Oh, hey. Oh, somebody decided to show up for a stream today. Huh? If you missed the Puzzling Places stream last night, too bad. It was me and Tornado were supposed to have, we were supposed to do a 400-piece jigsaw puzzle with you guys in Puzzling Places. I set up the cat tower right next to me so she could hang out. She had zero interest. Once we went live, zero interest in being there at all. For 3 hours, I think you guys saw her for all of like 12 seconds. It was crazy. But anyway, it was a terrible stream. You didn't miss much, I promise you. Miles, what's going on in the land of Miles Dyer this week?
Well, this week's live show that I do every Wednesday on youtube.com/Miles was about how to beat the heat. So we were just talking about tips of how people like to stay cool. And something that a lot of pet owners were mentioning, and I don't know if you have one of these, Brian, but they were saying that there are these like gel pads you can get for cats that they lie on them and it just absorbs all the heat, and cats in particular, dogs as well, and even owners get them for themselves. I was out for a drink with my best friend Hugh yesterday, and he was telling me he got one, and he's like, yeah, you just put your hand on it and you can instantly feel it just absorbing all your heat. And then obviously once you stop lying on it or what have you, it eventually sort of recharges in some way. Like, I guess it emits the heat again. But yeah, it's really, really good for cats. So yeah, if you do have pets, I don't actually know what the technical term is. Someone in the chat could probably say. But yeah, supposedly there are these really cool gel pads you can get for your pets. Because I really feel sorry for them.
Can I get a bed made out of them?
Made of it.
Right? It's like just like I lay in bed and just immediately cool down. That would be the best. Because that's the hardest part of this, man, is trying to sleep and just being like, oh, I'm sticking to my sheets. That's comfortable. Yep.
Well, this is it. But the other thing I was going to say around the heat was I've been wanting to play VR, and I did on the Monday night when the heat wave started coming along, and my goodness, you really feel the heat in the headset in a heat wave. Like, you're so used to doing it at a normal temperature, and yeah, it does get heated. You're wearing a machine on your head. But in a heat wave, you're like, my goodness, yeah, this is to the point that I don't know how long my vision is going to last in this. So yeah, I gave it a go, and I was like, yeah, this is not for me.
Guys, real quick, just as we're getting the show started here, I want to make sure that you guys know about all the cool stuff that's happening in the Without Parole community. The Game Cats are pretty much taking care of all of this for us. Really, J Meow has made sure that withoutparole.com is now a thing. So all the most recent videos are up there. All the most recent reviews are up there. Even if you don't want to watch the video, they're in text form as well. So J Meow does that. He also takes care of our audio podcasts. Like I said, Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry takes care of the timestamps, and Serial Killer the Game Cat actually did a fan wiki for us. And so the link for all these things are in the description below. So make sure that if you like Without Parole, and hey, if you like Miles Dyer, you can subscribe to his channel. All the links for all of these things,
please do,
right down below. You guys, if you want to be on that scroll that scrolls endlessly, don't forget you can support the channel on patreon.com/withoutparolegames. For the $3 a month tier, you get on that scroll. You also get access to voice chat over on Discord, which is otherwise totally free, but that's where we hang out all the time. So make sure you join us over there. And then, of course, for the $5 tier, there's some exclusive video content happening. But hey, if you want to support us for $1 or more, I promise you, I have plans to make sure that everyone feels included and that there will be exclusive content over on Patreon for any amount that you decide to pledge to us. That is all coming in the near future. I'm sick. And so this week has kind of been a wash for me. I've just been sort of getting out of bed in order to do GAMESCAST. But I promise you that all of this is coming in the near future. Miles, what's the likes target for this episode?
Things have been dropping week on week. I don't want to blame anyone, but chat, you are letting us down.
It's my fault.
Sorry, I said it's Brian's fault.
It's my fault.
It's our fault. We're a community. We all take blame. But it is actually more your fault and the Game Cat's, not my fault. Yeah, no, last week, no, this is really serious stuff, Brian, because if people can't support with money, they can support with their time, and the time it takes just to click that like button, click it. Last week we hit 242 likes, so should we aim for 270? I mean, this is one we've achieved before. We were hitting the 300s, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if there's a bit of like fatigue. Do people only have so much like in their hearts, and then they're like, yeah, I can't give too much like.
All right, I quit. Okay, listen, I was suffering from like fatigue, but I got over it, and I just went over and I clicked like. Okay.
I just did it now as well, because I always forget. And I'm such a hypocrite. Because I remember the 1 week, I'll never forget the 1 week where we were like 2 off our target. And we're like, come on, there must be 2 more. And then you and I realised we hadn't clicked the like button.
Yeah. We're total hypocrites.
Quick question, Brian.
Oh, yeah. What?
Stray. Have you played it this week?
I knew you were going to say Stray. Yeah, I'm about 2/3 of the way through, I think.
And how are you finding it?
It's adorable. I mean, more than anything else. I'm assuming you've played it as well.
I haven't yet. I had it installed on Tuesday, ready to play, and just because of work and the heat, I was like, I want to play this when I can, feel relaxed and enjoy it. So my plan is this weekend, and I can't wait to play it. But yeah, no, do tell me like your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I don't know if I have I do have a Stray trailer that we can play during this. That's weird. It's a flat screen game. So yeah, I mean, as cute as it looked, right? I wasn't particularly looking forward to it because I was like, oh, it's a flat screen game. But then it came at the absolute perfect time. It basically showed up when I was sick. It's too hot to put on a headset. I just want to lay in bed, and like you can only watch so much TV when you're laying in bed, right? And so I was like, all right, screw it. I might as well take make the most of my upgraded PlayStation Plus program. Right, I'd upgraded to Premium, the most expensive one, and I'm not going to be keeping that, I don't think, unless great games like this keep coming out for it. And so I downloaded this and I started playing it. In the first 20 minutes, it's kind of walking sim like, but it evolves into a much more interesting game after that. But I will say they nail, without giving anything away, they nail so much stuff that cat owners or people who have just hung out with cats or seen cats in their life are really going to appreciate. The animations are on point. There's a lot of just like cute little references to like things that cats are notorious for, and it's all super, super adorable. But it's so much more than that. Like it actually feels like there's a lot of love put into this game. I'm a big fan, man. I'm a big fan. When are you going to get around to this? Are you going to get around to this?
Tomorrow. I mean, I've got it installed. I had it installed on the Tuesday, hoping to play it after work, and it was just like, oh, it's too hot. The thing I've heard quite a lot, and it might sound obvious if you've played Stray, but normally when you have a game that's about an animal, it's like, okay, it's the animal in its form, but it's like it's a cartoony or a super cat of some kind. I mean, obviously, this is a cat you're controlling, and it's going on a mission, but the focus is the fact that no, it is just a cat, like doing cat things. And I saw the clip you shared earlier. Well, I say, okay, so there might be some liberties with that, right. But like the stuff like you shared the clip earlier of walking on the keyboard, and you can just meow. I think there's a trophy for meowing 100 times, and you can just meow at different robots, and you can knock stuff over, and that sort of stuff. I think that's really, really cool. I'm really looking forward to playing it.
Yeah, the only thing I'm kind of like sad about is that the only thing I'm upset about is that I sort of want to get the platinum. This doesn't seem like a terribly long game, and like considering that it's a game about a cat, I just was like, okay, this might be right up my alley. If I'm going to play a flat screen game for a week, let's get the platinum. That would be a pretty cool badge of honor. It's kind of difficult to get the platinum, and when I say difficult, I mean like you kind of got to know what's coming, and maybe. Be prepared to restart the game. Like there are moments where you have to do something right the first time. And so I think you have to. Yeah, and it's sort of the trophy list is sort of reflective of the game itself. I think it's a definitely trial by error type game where you'll probably die quite a few times and go, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And then finally go, oh, okay, that's what they want me to do. And I'm not usually a big fan of that, but the charm that Stray has totally supersedes any little quibble I might have. It's adorable. I think it's going. What is it? $30? I feel like this is a perfect $30 game.
And obviously, if you got PlayStation Extra, the middle tier or Premium, you get that. It's a day one download included, which is amazing. Yeah. The only final question I would ask on this, Brian, is: would it make a good VR port?
I was wondering that, and I don't think so. Because it would make a good VR port in the sense that if you wanted to play in third person and just kind of like take in the world and look around and but you're still playing a third person game, I think it would be really nice to absorb this in VR. But if you're looking for, I think the kind of thing that I was talking about before it came out, where I was like, oh, I want to be a cat with big giant cat paws in first person and be able to paw things and knock stuff off. I don't think it would work terribly well because the sense of scale is accurate, and I think if you were down there at cat size, you wouldn't see any of the important things that you need to see. You really do need to be human size in order to kind of direct a cat and to do the things that he or she, I have no idea the gender of this cat. I feel like maybe I should. I keep calling it a her because Tornado's a girl, so now like all cats to me are girls. You
haven't turned the camera angle yet then?
Have not. No, I have I have some respect for my little cat.
That's just what. If I was curious, that's how I'd find out.
Not really my business,
Fair enough. This taps into one of the viewer takeover questions we had last week, which was about what features would you like to see in VR, and one of them, the one that was suggested by forgive me, I can't remember who asked the question, but it was, I'd love it if you got shrunk and you got to experience, worlds, as a little person or as a small creature. And it's like, well, Stray is that kind of thing of having a game where to like, it's one thing to control as a cat, but and I'm sure it's amazing being in this world from the perspective of a cat, but to be that in VR as well, like looking up and around, even if Stray's not the one to do that,
Yeah.
It does sort of. But I also wonder: is there something about VR games when you're playing as a creature, the character that you play is kind of crawling around? I know, like baby hands is like. Is there something about standing upright that those kind of work better for VR games? I could be totally wrong.
There's a little bit of suspension of disbelief, I think, in certain PSVR games. Like even if you played a game like Rush, right, which is like wingsuit flying, you're still standing vertically and doing this, right? And then you just have to pretend that your legs are flying up behind you. So so I could totally see that once you play for a little while, once you play as a cat in VR for a little while, that okay, it's fine. Like I can pretend I'm a cat. Just like I can pretend I'm in an actual wingsuit. Yep.
Just not going to get distracted and start licking the move controllers.
It's the sad thing is, and I know that we've been now going on about Stray for the better part of the show, is which was not even on the run of show, which I love. We had a chance to have a good cat game in VR. That was Cat Lateral Damage, but unfortunately the VR mode was not the same as the flat screen mode, and so we ended up with sort of this cat experience where you could teleport up onto shelves, which is like, come on, man! If I'm a cat, I want to bound up and do these things physically, but you did have these giant cat paws. So one of the things that I love about VR games, whenever they give you giant hands or giant paws or whatever it is, oversized, whatever these are. It's just so much fun in VR. So you get to get up on a shelf and just start knocking shit over as a cat, and that's really fun. But then they forgot to actually include the rest of the game, and so it's kind of a shame. And I don't think Neko Atsume really counts because you don't get to play as a cat. Okay, your tail's all wet, bud. Your tail's all wet. It's all up in my iced coffee sweat.
Well, we touched upon the viewer takeover question that we had last week. We've got a few viewer takeovers, and actually we've got 3 to go through. The third one is actually going to take us nicely into today's main topic.
For anyone who's like, it's been 20 fucking minutes, why haven't they talked about VR yet? Yeah, we'll get there.
So the first question from viewers takeover, which by the way you could submit on the PSVR Without Parole Discord, just head on over to the viewer takeover channel, and I'd always say, just even if you think, is this going to be a question they want to answer, just always throw it in there if something comes to mind, because just before our show we go through it and we pull questions in, because we like to hear what you're thinking about at the moment, as much as we do think about what are the big questions of the day. We do like to have these moments maybe to answer questions that don't normally get covered because they are very small and specific, but they can also still be interesting. So the first one comes from Richie, who asked on viewer takeover, do you think PlayStation will do one big reveal closer to release date or expected release date of end of Q1 of 2023, or do you think they will continue to drip feed information? I mean, I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm still convinced that in September it's going to be a part of the big showcase. But I'm also open to the fact that that might not be the case now. But I think there is going to be one big reveal.
Yeah, man. As time goes on, I get more and more confused every day that passes. I'm just like, I have no fucking idea what Sony's plan is. Obviously there'll be a September showcase, but the question is will we get? Is September a little late to really start pushing the PSVR2 hype train forward? We got State of Play, the beginning of last month, so we're coming up on almost 2 months. Did I have that right? Has it been almost 2 months since Sony has shown off Resident Evil Village and No Man's Sky and Saints and Sinners Chapter 2, the very first trailers they've ever revealed? I want to say that was June 4th or June 6th or something. It was early in June. They just like to drop shit. What are you doing? They just like to drop shit.
I'm having a look now.
And then while you're having a look, I need to give Dead Ringer a shout out, who gives a $2 tip and said, "Wrong. I play Rush VR lying on my stomach on a box." So you get the full VR experience.
I love
That's
that.
Awesome. Right?
It was June 2nd.
Dude, so yeah, we were a week away from it being 2 months since they. It's crazy how they're willing to just drop stuff that excites us, and then not follow it up with anything. The hype train, I feel like, starts and stalls with PlayStation VR 2 so frequently that for anyone who's not excited about it anymore, I kind of understand. It's like it almost feels like it's just like, what are you doing, man? It's like it feels like a tease, and so until they're ready to start saying, listen, here's your nonstop PSVR2 coverage until the thing finally comes out. I'm just kind of confused as to what they're doing. But this is also pretty typical for what Sony's doing for all games right now, right? Like it took us forever to get any God of War footage, any Last of Us 1 information. Like it seems like they're so quiet about so many things right now. And is that because PS5s are still hard to find and they don't want to be pushing games for a system that's already selling out? Like, what's the point? Or what do you think it is?
I mean, you know, the way I always describe Sony is exactly to that point, Brian, which is, you know, quietly confident. But in a strange way, I kind of feel it's backfired on them a bit this year, because when you look at whether it's what's happened with The Last of Us Part 1, the remake, and the fact that they had to release this 10-minute video, which I thought was amazing, but it was done at a really random time after some more leaks had come out. So they're sort of playing defense, it feels like. And even the God of War, even though they were still arguably doing it when they said they were, although there was, I don't know if you saw, there was a tweet on one of PlayStation's Twitter channels where it had, you know, God of War out 9th of November, but the image said the 11th of November, which was clearly the original date. So there's this whole sense of like, what's going on? You know, there's a lot of shuffling around, and, you know, when the God of War stuff was announced, even though it may have been exactly how they wanted, there was this constant sense of they were playing defense because there was so much outcry of, you know, not stuff I'm going to condone or anything, but there was a lot of grotesque stuff happening in the toxic community, giving abuse to the developers and that. But it seems that, I'm not saying it backfired in a way of like you've got to appease the toxicity of the community, like you need to do what you need to do. But it does feel that things are getting dragged out so much that people are becoming impatient. Like there's a fine line, isn't there, that Sony, when they're really good at building suspense and drama, actual drama when it comes to the toxicity, but it's this sense of that I feel that they're pushing things back so far, where with big titles like God of War, which they announced ages ago, and the conversation was around, is it going to get delayed again? And, you know, that might just be because of the world that we live in now, where unfortunately we're still post-pandemic. There's a lot of knock-on effects and stuff like that. And there's, as you mentioned, the issues with PlayStation 5 supply, which I've always argued is the ultimate bottleneck for the next generation of the VR hardware. So yeah, I just wanted to bring up The Last of Us and God of War as examples of where their quiet confidence now just feels like quiet complacency. It's kind of shifted where their intentions may be the same, but I feel it's kind of wearing thin.
Agreed. However, I do feel like as soon as that early June state of play happened, everybody was like, oh, like all is forgiven. Everybody all at once was like, oh, everything's great. You guys are doing a great job. Keep it up, you know? And I do think that as soon as the September showcase rolls around, which is, I mean, seriously, dude, we're at the end of July. It's like 2 months away at best, right? It's usually the first or second week of September. So it's less than 2 months away, likely. And maybe they're just saving it all up until then. And if they're kind of saving it all up to have like this big splash that'll cover them all through the holidays, to cover PSVR2, to cover all these different games that are coming out, to reveal some other games, then I mean, by all means, you know, it's fine. Like I sort of miss the whole E3 reveal season. You know, and we get to a point where there was just like showcase after showcase after showcase. There was PAX East, and then there was, you know, GDC, and then there was whatever, right? TGS, and it was just too many, man. What was it? Paris Games Week. There were just too many, and so it was like they had to start backing out of some of these and bailing. And I kind of prefer being like, hey, if this Sony showcase is going to be sort of the equivalent of their E3. Then cool, man. I'm going to take the day off from work. Although I guess I can't do that anymore. I will not take the day off from work. I will be here streaming it with you guys. And it'll be like the most exciting day of our year. And if they're willing to go back and do something like that, then I am full support of it, with like little state of plays to just kind of speckle in throughout the course of the year. I'm totally fine with that. But again, I'd like them to say that and just be like, this is how we're doing things, because people miss it and we miss it, and we want to get back to what people love.
Yeah, I mean, look, 3 quick things. Firstly, just sort of a rebuttal on my own point a moment ago about The Last of Us and God of War. The difference between those and PSVR2 is PSVR2 doesn't have a mass adoption like God of War and Last of Us, two of their biggest properties. So the fact that these were announced and the drama around it, it's a different flavor to what it is around PSVR2. Yes, they did these great announcements on June 2nd. I was convinced that was the last we'd hear of it until September. And so to your point about, is their state of play going to be their E3? They've pulled out of these big events, for years now. And they've been very deliberate with what they've been doing with the showcases. And the last 2 years they've done the showcases, they've been phenomenal. Every year they've been absolutely phenomenal. And so when they announce this next one, I have every expectation for it to be as good again. And, in a strange way, the fact that they're so good is why we really started having quite concerning thoughts about their state of plays. Because their state of plays now are at a contrast where they're not such the big deals. And I kind of like that, Sony have to say there is one point in the year where we have to say this is what, the next year is going to look like. And I think once we get to that, because once we get to September, it could be another 4 or 5 months until the headset's out, if it's going to be March of next year. So they do need to clear the runway a bit before they start announcing more stuff, because as much as we want answers now, the sooner they tell us now, the more we've then got to wait afterwards. And I would rather the gap between seeing the amazing stuff coming out and it being released being as short as possible. So there's nothing worse than if they did one today and it's absolutely amazing. It's right, all this is coming out in March of next year. And I know it would give us a lot more to talk about, but then, I kind of like the fact we're in this speculation territory for topics like we're going to talk about today.
For sure. We got Belramio, the Game Cat, with the €100 tip in the chat.
Wow.
And also, if you're watching this later, Bell, I know you said he had to take off because his battery was on 0. It says, released the Hype Train in the Tip Train and Stray. Great game. Yeah, I think Bell was one of the first people to beat that game. Thank you so much for the donation, man. Really appreciate all the help.
Good man.
We've also got Professor Lilith in the chat.
Hey.
$5 tip says, hi, Game Cats. By popular acclaim, this week's Sunday multiplayer 2 p.m. Eastern is Alvo. Use your move or aim controllers to stalk the enemy. Yeah, we want to make sure that, you guys, another great reason to join Discord is because every single Sunday, Professor Lilith organizes this awesome Game Cat meetup where everybody jumps into a game that you might have sitting in your library and it doesn't get a lot of use because when you jump into it, if it's a multiplayer only game, then maybe there's no one playing it. I don't think the Alvo's having that problem, but everyone's having so much fun with Alvo that they're doing it again this week. So make sure that if you want to jump in and play with some of the cats, 2 p.m. Eastern this Sunday. Thank you so much, Professor Lilith, for always staying on top of this.
Great work. Right, Brian. Second. Oh, sorry, you were going to say something?
No, absolutely not. The last thing I want to do is keep us from getting to another viewer takeover question.
Seek, the googly game cat, says pizza bet, and this was actually from last week that we missed last week, so I'm glad we got it here. Pizza bet on the next PSVR2 title to be revealed. I mean, okay,
yeah.
Let's make it easier. Is it going to be a brand new IP for VR? Or is it going to be a sequel, or port from another?
I mean, I think the safe bet. I'm going to go with the safe bet. I think the safe bet is that it's Gran Turismo 7, right? Because it's just a game that everybody was disappointed in on PlayStation VR 1, not because it wasn't good or well designed or wasn't beautiful, because it was great. What was there was great. However, it was just limited, and I think most people wanted to play through Gran Turismo Sport on PSVR 1. They wanted to play through the campaign. They wanted to play just every mode in VR against a full grid of racers. To our knowledge, the OG PS4 just wasn't capable of doing that. And so they had to kind of pull the plug on allowing us to do that. You could play through on the flat screen and unlock all these cars and all these other tracks and everything else that you go in and play in different modes in PSVR mode. But that's not what we wanted. Not really. You could put a ton of hours into it, but that's still not the full experience. And so I think to kind of make amends for that, Polyphony Digital, I know that they're big fans of VR. I think getting Gran Turismo 7 announced for PSVR 2 and showing people how closely it resembles the flat screen version as far as graphical fidelity goes, I think that's super important for people to get on board.
Yeah, as soon as you mentioned that, I was like, of course. Yeah, that is the one that we felt that if they were going to include a first party one in the in the June state of play, it would have been Gran Turismo. So yeah, I think GT7 is an absolute good shout.
Nice. I don't think we have to place any pizza bets, because if we're in agreement on it, then
That's true.
That'll save me a pizza later, because I'm always wrong. I'm always losing on pizza bets. So I owe God a pizza, man. Like, I owe everybody pizza. It's crazy. Yeah.
You do the next one, because this is leading into.
Oh.
Well, do you know what? Actually, before we do this final viewer takeover, let's talk about the poll.
Yeah.
Because the poll is also related. So, what is the poll question for today?
The poll question is in chat, which, by the way, thank you so much, everybody who already voted. 168 votes. This is going well. The question is what VR headsets do you own? This isn't even an opinion thing. This is just, we want to get some stats on you guys. We're going to sell them to Facebook later. No. The first option is only PSVR. I only own PlayStation VR. The second option is I own others, but I still prefer PlayStation VR. The third is I own PlayStation VR, and I don't prefer that. I prefer something else. And then the last one is what's PlayStation VR? What am I doing here? And so
we love you, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out. It's really pretty cool that you don't have PlayStation VR and you're here. We love you for that.
And to be honest, at this point, Brian, if people haven't got PSVR, I do say save up and just wait for PSVR2.
It's such a loaded question, right? It's such a loaded question when it comes to PSVR1, PSVR2. If you haven't jumped into VR yet, or if you don't have a PlayStation VR1, should you get a PSVR1 now, or should you wait and just get PSVR2? Such a loaded question, and I see both sides of this discussion so clearly, right? Because until Sony says PSVR2 will be backwards compatible, until they say that, or until they give us the plan of here's the list of remasters that PSVR1 remasters that PSVR2 will get, until they give us that kind of information, it's really hard to really commit to one side of this argument, right?
Yeah, no, I'm with you completely. For me, it's kind of, I mean, it is what I've said to friends who might have only jumped into having a PlayStation console since the pandemic. So the PS5 is their first one, and they've also had a taste of VR at a friend's house, and they're like, well, should I get PSVR? And I just say, just wait until PSVR2 and then make a decision. Because it's kind of like, yeah, technically they could get PSVR now and enjoy it, for many months. But I just feel that they don't know what they're missing out on, do they? Unless they start playing it. And then it's like, wow, you've got all this. And I know it's kind of like, that doesn't mean they shouldn't enjoy it now.
Right. But
I'm with you. It's kind of like the backwards compatibility is going to be a good feature. But
also, dude, not everybody's ready to get a PlayStation 5. Some people bought their PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 4 Pro last year. Right. And so if you're not looking to upgrade to a PS5, then and for the next 5 years, you're like, oh, I'm just gonna stick with this. Then absolutely. That's
a really great distinction.
It's
great
always,
distinction.
Dude, Sony has been amazing. I don't say this statement very often, but Sony's been amazing about sales. There are constant sales on PSVR games on the PlayStation Store. So if you're just getting into PSVR now, I was in voice chat before the show, and I was talking to Zombie, and Zombie reminded me that just recently, sorry, sirens on my end, that Sony on their very own store, PlayStation.com, they were selling the Iron Man PSVR bundle that comes with 2 Move controllers, which usually go for $100 on their own, plus a $40 game, plus the headset, $250. And so if you're just jumping into VR now, like you might have jumped in really, really cheap, and now you can get all of these games that we paid full price for like 80% off, right? It's like, who cares if Battle Wake is a shallow game? I only paid $6 for it. It's like, perfect.
Yeah.
You're getting way more than $6 of enjoyment out of Battle Wake. That's awesome.
By the way, Rune Orby said in the chat, I never had any VR headset, but I will get the PSVR 2. It's fun being here, 100. So yeah, love having you here. And that's the thing is, I know I've seen quite a lot of people in the past say they don't have VR, but they like just being a part of this show. Because the truth is, we're talking about the future of a medium, of gaming, of entertainment. Like, there's talk about the Metaverse and things like that. It's all coming together. The lines between movies, music, VR, gaming. there's going to be increasing overlap. So it's definitely an exciting time to be a part of this. Should we end the poll then? Or
Yeah,
do we leave it until...
And I got to tell you that on my end, I don't see the results. I just see that 185 people have voted, so I don't even know.
Ooh.
So this is going to be a surprise for me. So let me click over here. I'm going to end the poll. Oh, wow. Okay, this is such a cool... These are I did not expect to see these results. So, okay, what VR headset do you own? Only PSVR for me is the number one with 52% of the vote. And we shouldn't be terribly surprised because we are on a show called PSVR GAMESCAST Live on a channel called PSVR without Parole. So not terribly surprised. There's a certain audience that comes here. Then I own others, but prefer PSVR, 22%. That means so far, 74% of our viewers would rather play on their PSVR because either they don't have anything else or they just like their PSVR better. 16% of you out there said I own PSVR, but I prefer other headsets, which we'll get into a little bit, I think, during our discussion. I can kind of understand that, depending on your reasons, I suppose. And then the final is I don't own PSVR. Where am I? That's 8% of you, which is about 15 people who voted don't have PSVR, which is very, very interesting. And I'm sure some people clicked it as a joke, and other people truly don't have it. Very interesting results.
Yeah, the polls are really good. Like, polls can often be just used as an engagement gimmick, but like it is awesome to sort of get a real sense of people's habits with VR. I mean, Brian and I were always scratching our heads beforehand of what the question should be, and actually this was quite a hard one to come up with because initially it was like, do you own PSVR or not, or what one do you enjoy? I mean, it'd be cool to have a multiple choice one where it's like tick the boxes of all.
Yeah.
Although something I'd be up for doing maybe sometime via Discord is setting up like a Survey Monkey thing. We could do like the great PSVR survey and just let everyone vote in it, and then do the results at the end of the year about PSVR as a whole. Like,
for anyone who doesn't know, Miles loves to overcomplicate this show as much as possible whenever possible. So if we do that, you will know full well in advance. Yeah, all Miles doing. Because I would have no part in that.
Especially if it's a really shit idea and it turns out terrible, then it's definitely Miles's.
Dude, it is so funny, and I've talked about this in voice chat. I've talked about this probably publicly somewhere. But for anyone who doesn't know, this whole change in the co-host situation has been so good for me because AJ, Dave, and I got into a routine where we just didn't really have to think. We just did the show. Then AJ and I got into a really solid routine because there's just two of us and we never had to think. We just did the show, and so that's what Mondays is for me. But then Wednesdays, I don't even write out a run of show anymore because I know full well that Wes and I are not going to follow it. We're going to just go off on some random tangents, and so everything on Wednesday is totally off the cuff. And then Miles is like the complete opposite, where it's he's super, super structured, at least when it comes to this kind of stuff. And
yes,
dude, Miles has so much influence over what happens on Friday shows that if anything good happens on a Friday show, you can 100% point to Miles and say that was him. So, dude, thank you so much.
Bad, this has been 200% him.
But this has been really good for me, and so and I'm also feverish right now. So if I'm just going off on tangents, just ignore me. But this is hopefully everyone has been enjoying the different co-hosts as much as I have. This has been really good for my ability to learn to talk to different people and get out of my comfort zone, I think is really what it is. And so, Miles, you're awesome. Thank you for being here. Wes is also awesome. AJ is awesome. You guys already know that, but hopefully you guys are. Fucking Wes just shows up anytime you say his name. There he is in the chat. What's up, dude?
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Brian. And the thing I would say to all the game cats out there is a part of the reason I do like the scripting stuff. It's what I now do for my live show on Wednesday as well. It's sort of twofold. One is I have a lot of gaps in my VR knowledge, especially compared to Brian. And so when we have a topic, obviously I could sort of read about it, but having it sort of written out and sort of some bullet points, it just means I can, familiarize myself with things that I might be overlooking. But the other aspect of it also was when I was first jumped into this, Brian gave me the heads up and said, by the way, Fridays are going to generally be the slower news days, because obviously you have stuff building up through the week. And so I was, and actually, because it's also a really slow time as we're in this drought leading up to PSVR2, I've just felt that it is this question of like, what we're going to talk about on a Friday that's normally a slow news day, and it's a drought because of PSVR2. So this might become less structured as we go into the launch, because every week it's just going to be like, yeah, we just have these games to talk about that we're playing. It's going to be a lot easier. But yeah, no, I appreciate it.
All right, man. So let's get to the final viewer takeover question, which will actually launch us straight into our topic of the day. Which I will tell you, the second I think people saw the thumbnail, they were like, "Uh-oh!" Like it's like this. I got messages right off the bat being like, "Oh, make sure you talk about this. Oh, this is super important. This is." I mean, it was just like from all directions. I was like, "Whoa, hot button topic!" Like, right? And hopefully you guys know by now what to expect on Without Parole. Hopefully you know by now that we're not going to sit here and just like fucking bash the competition. We're going to try to look at this from as many different angles as possible. We're going to do our absolute best to be fair about it. And it has, obviously we want PlayStation VR2 to do great. That is because that's where we're going to be playing most of our games. But there's so much more to this conversation than, oh, who's going to be the winner, right? Despite the fact that the thumbnail, I think, clearly says who's going to be the winner. So Miles is teaching me how to use clickbait properly. It's not the case. Just kidding. So the last viewer takeover question comes to us from, I know it's here somewhere. There it is. Nope, that's not it. Do you have it handy, Miles?
What's that? The article?
No, the viewer takeover question.
Oh, sorry. The view, yeah, from, is it Wise G? Is it Wise G? Or Wise Edgy 84. Competition from other headsets should lead to good things overall. That said, I think the PSVR2 library will beat the Quest library, even if the Pro headset has similar specs.
This wasn't the question. Ah, shit.
This wasn't it.
Nope.
What?
Crap. Did I not copy and paste this into it?
It'll be in.
No.
I can read it. Oh no, I've got it here.
You got it.
Here we go. So it's from Ripper 1892.
That's the one.
Do you think the? Sorry about this. Yeah, Miles is so structured, just like this. Do you think the Quest Pro coming out first will hurt sales of the PSVR2? The price difference isn't much considering you need to buy a PS5, and at this rate, to purchase a 5, it may run into buying both close around the same time. So do you think the Quest Pro coming out first will hurt sales of the PSVR2?
Yeah, I mean, let's address his question specifically, right? In order to kick this off, I don't think in the history of anything coming out first is ever guaranteed a victory, ever, right? PlayStation VR1 came out before Quest 1 did. That didn't seem to matter. The Sega Saturn came out before the PlayStation 1 did. That didn't seem to matter. It's just that you can kind of go down the list, right? And even if you get into like a little bit more controversial territory that does directly involve Sony, is like the Xbox 360 had a full year lead on PlayStation 3. In their launch, PlayStation 3 launch was horrible. It was horrible. It was overpriced. There weren't a lot of games. Porting third-party games to the system was just an absolute disaster. No one knew how to program for the cell processor. Like, it was just a mess. But yet, you have to look at that generation as a whole, and then look at the end and say, "Holy crap! Sony actually came out on top." I mean, it was by a very slim margin. But if you compare the fact that like Xbox had a whole year lead on them, was way cheaper, way easier to program for, the fact that Sony even came back and overtook the competition without needing that year, like it coming out first has never mattered, right? And so I have a hard time believing, and I'm sure you have some alternate examples here, but I have a hard time believing that if Quest or Apple or whoever is making a VR headset comes out 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months ahead, which at this point it's July, so at best somebody's going to come out 4 months ahead of PlayStation VR2. I have a hard time believing that that's going to matter even in the slightest. Fucking Dreamcast, man. Dreamcast came out $99.99. Everyone waited for a PlayStation 2.
So the Dreamcast was the one I was going to mention. But the thing I'll say is we do live in a different world now where there is a constant flow of news and information about upcoming releases. The amount of consoles and devices being released is a constant stream anyway. My memory of the Dreamcast, and I might be wrong in my memory of this, was they were way ahead of the PlayStation and the Xbox, which came out. They came out way too early. And so in many ways, they may have helped pave the way, but they actually were the sacrifice for it, which was, it was expensive. It didn't have mass appeal compared to like the Mega Drive and previous consoles, and compared to the N64. And so I think that I think an example is PlayStation VR2, regardless of the issues with supply for PlayStation 5. Let's park that aside. Let's say that wasn't an issue. There is an argument to be had that because there's going to be such a leap in the hardware of PSVR2, that yes, they could release it now or earlier this year, but they would be sort of like they would be coming too soon, where maybe the cost of making it would be a lot higher than if they just leave it 6 months later. Maybe the conversion rate of jumping next gen, like the longer they can leave the release, the better it is going to be for them.
Yeah.
And obviously there is a sweet spot as well. And I think that in comparison to other headsets, I think that it's also why they've probably been quite quiet about all the things that are being released and like all the features. Obviously they've spoken about them, but like really showing it. Obviously Meta are doing lots of their own research and stuff, but I do think Sony are being quietly confident about it for that reason, that they don't want to let on too much. I think they've got quite a few things up their sleeves, including, which is their biggest selling point of their VR, which is they have all these amazing game studios, which is something we're going to talk about here. So
for sure.
I don't think...
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. You go. I'm going to make a separate point, so I'll park that.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. Arne Groot is in the chat, and he says, when will the PlayStation VR2 come out? And so that's crazy, man, that we're in July, right? And Sony still hasn't mentioned this officially. We've been saying since February that we are confident, because of our sources, that PlayStation VR2 will launch in Q1 of next year, meaning, from what I've heard, late February or early March. And so by the time it rolls around, we'll have been saying that for a year. But as far as the next Meta headset, there's, again, nothing official, but from what we've heard, again, Oculus is saying, and I keep saying Oculus, Meta, Facebook, whatever, it's all the same. Yeah. Despite how you log into your account, trust me, it's all still Facebook. They said that they are, quote, laser focused on getting that thing out by the end of this year, their next headset. So it does seem like the Quest Pro, the Quest 3, whatever the hell, is going to be out this year at some point. And so they will have some lead time. And I think that will be, at least for a couple months, especially with the holiday season, really, really beneficial to them.
Yeah.
For a couple months.
Yeah.
Poor Dreamcast.
Well, yeah, no, but... And this is the thing also, is like we talk about there's an advantage for releasing before Christmas, because obviously you're going to get those sales. But the difference for Sony is the bottleneck is the PlayStation 5. And so my theory had always been that they want to, push PS5s at Christmas, another round of pushing the supply, getting it in the hands of more people, and then having a few months before then releasing the headsets. Because it is going to make a huge difference on how many they sell, because of the quantities they sell of these devices, the margins matter, magnitudes of scales in terms of the millions and millions of dollars that they make. So yeah, it's true.
And although Sony never sold PSVR1 at a loss, I think they know, like, that was testing the waters. That was dipping their toe into VR. That was using, they didn't sell the PSVR1 at a loss, but they were also using, I think somebody just got shot in the parking lot. They're also using Move controllers, these things that they just had stocked up in warehouses as their control scheme. It's like, this is much different, man. This is Sony taking VR very, very seriously. They're not dipping their toe in the water. They're launching with a Horizon game. Like, these new controllers seem amazing, and it does seem like they are absolutely taking it seriously this time. And because of that, sales matter. And I don't think they really cared that much about the sales of PSVR1. They were like, this is our little social experiment. We're just trying this out. We're an innovative company. We're trying to see if anybody's interested. Let's just sell it and make sure that we don't lose out on the back end. And now I think they realize VR is an important medium moving forward, and they will, if they need to, take a loss on the hardware because they know that the attach rate is so high that they will make their money back on games instantaneously on launch day. When people buy 7 launch games, however much of a loss they took on the headset, they're making up for immediately with launch games. That was a long rant.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I was responding to.
No. There's a lot to unpack there, and I really agree with a lot of that, because this is the distinguishing factor between a Quest and a PlayStation, which is Sony. Although the irony is, Sony have primarily been a hardware company. That is why they make PSVR. It's why they make great DualSense controllers, and they've had the edge when it comes to peripherals and accessories for their devices. But the advantage they're going to have in the virtual reality space, okay, on the one hand, no, it's going to be the hardware. They're going to have incredibly great headsets that are going to be market leaders in terms of what they offer. But we've learned that less than half the battle is the hardware, because you look at all the games that came out on PS4 towards the end of the console cycle, but then you look at Horizon Forbidden West that came out on PS5 and the PS4 port, and you're like, why? How have they managed to achieve that quality on such an old console? So yeah, PSVR 2 is going to have great features on it, but Sony and the journey with all these great developers of optimizing, not just with the headset itself, but the Tempest engine for 3D audio on the PlayStation 5, the haptic technology that they've already been using with the DualSense and now is going to be in the Orb controllers, and the optimization they do. Most of you will have seen those options when you are on PlayStation 5. Do you want your data to be used to help with research and optimization? They have tens of millions of players around the world that are feeding in, and they're able to optimize accordingly. So in a way, that a lot of the features for VR that are going to be used in the next generation of VR is based on user testing that they've done with one of the biggest pools of gamers. Because it doesn't matter that they're not in the VR space if they're using haptics and they're testing that stuff. And they've been doing optimization with game development for flat screen games, but using the SSDs on the PS5. My point is that they have a massive advantage because of the scale they have compared to Oculus, which is still quite a small, because the Oculus is the Oculus platform itself.
True, absolutely true. When you're in, so yeah, and there's actually like 1,000 different ways we could go from there. But let's get this out of the way, right? Do you think, because right now everything is up in the air, we don't have solid information. I think the controllers are going to be very similar to each other. We've seen patents about, for the next Oculus controllers where there's some kind of, haptic feedback, where there's some kind of adaptive triggers. I do think the Sense controllers and whatever Meta releases next are going to be pretty damn similar, right? It's like there's got to be some substantial upgrade in the controllers for Meta, and so I think that those will be somewhat on par. But as far as the power that's powering the headset, again, we don't know the answer to this question. On the Meta side, right, we do know the power of the PlayStation 5. We do know that both headsets are absolutely going to use eye tracking and foveated rendering in order to get the most out of whatever power source they're using. How big of a difference, this is obviously very much an opinion, how much of an improvement do you think Meta can make from Quest 2 to the Quest Pro, or whatever it's going to be called? Do you think there's going to be some level of parity between PSVR2 played on a PlayStation 5 to whatever Meta releases next?
The thing is, and this is me going to be speaking a bit out of my depth with knowledge on this, so I'm totally cool with getting scolded for this in the chat. But when it's ever been a debate around PC gamers and console gamers, I'm someone who has always wanted a PC, a gaming PC. I have a Mac computer. I don't have space for it. and I like gaming on a console downstairs where I can sit on my couch and enjoy it that way. But when I often get in conversations with people that just say, you know, PC is ultimate, you know, no question, you know, there's no debate. I always say, well, when it comes to the mass market, you know, not everyone is going to be having a top-end PC. I mean, I know when Cyberpunk came out and there were a lot of reviews on the PC version, and a lot of the reviewers said, well, I played it on my PC, which is the best specs that the average PC gamer perhaps isn't going to have. And the reason I bring this up is, if you were going to have a PC that was going to run VR games for the Oculus or the 3, where it's connected by a cable, and it's going to, you know, have great performance, great graphics, all these other things, I arguably still think that even if it has the power and you have the right modules in it, it's never going to compete against Sony, that have made a commitment, going back to my point earlier, where they have made the PlayStation 5, where it has the Tempest engine. They've actually made a card dedicated for sound that has been
just
optimized.
to clarify, you're talking about hooking up your brand new, whatever the Quest Next is going to be called, to a high-powered PC. You're not talking about using the onboard processor at all.
Exactly that, because I think that's always going to be the difference, isn't it? Like the Oculus 2 at the moment, I've not played it, but it's like it's got great experiences for being wireless, but it comes at a cost. And it's not to say that the Oculus 3, if that's what we're going to call it, can't be impressive for a wireless headset. It's going to be absolutely mind-blowing. Like, wow, look at the quality of these games while being unplugged, but it's still not going to be as good as a wired PSVR2 title.
Yep.
And some people are going to choose the wireless over the quality, because they think, actually, the benefit I get from the wireless experience is going to significantly outweigh the lack of, you know, the sort of the graphics capabilities and all that. That's going to be an individual choice. But I think for the mass market overall, and we're only talking about one element here, when you consider the whole picture of the Tempest engine, the 3D audio, the haptics. Again, Oculus can have their own versions of it, but Sony have really delved into the research over a long period of time and have done it in a way that is still unmatched, even on the Xbox side. Xbox has some kind of 3D audio, but it doesn't come anywhere close to what Sony has done. When it comes to haptics, I know as soon as the PS5 came out, Phil Spencer had, I believe, said in an article, he acknowledged the DualSense and was like, yeah, this is probably something we're going to have to think about with our own controllers. And you only need to be one step ahead of the competition to win a generation. And I think that is a real potential for the PSVR2.
Yeah, it's also doubtful that we're talking about the same generations for both headsets. PlayStation VR2 will likely be the headset, and you know, with I'm sure V2s or whatever, but you're not going to be missing out on anything if you don't upgrade your headset throughout the course of the entire PlayStation 5 generation. I think it's a headset that should last us 5 years, and I don't think that's Oculus' strategy for any of their upcoming headsets. And so as far as the standalone model goes, though, I think Oculus will surprise us. I do think that they, you know, we've actually seen what can be done on the Quest 2, and we're all kind of like stare sometimes and go, how is this even running on the Quest 2? It's a Snapdragon processor. It's a cell phone processor. How are these games even running or looking as good as they do and running at this frame rate? You know, when everything you're doing and everything you're shoving into that machine is only for VR, I think that makes a difference. And then adding foveated rendering and eye tracking onto it, really kind of frees up the processors quite a bit. I think the leap from Quest 2 to the Pro is going to be substantial, like really substantial, to the point where like it's not going to be this, oh God, I have to play on this thing. You know, if I want to play on the go, if I don't want to have a wire, I think people will be happy with the upgrade. And so, but I do think that PSVR2 is going to be like next level. You know what I'm saying? When we put on PSVR2, we're going to go, oh wow, did not expect next gen VR to look this good, or to be able to utilize this many effects, or just be this immersive. How crazy is this, right? But whereas Quest Pro will be, hey, here's your very substantial upgrade to the thing you already had, but still not as, still not up to par with, something like an optimized PC VR setup, right? I think it's going to be very interesting.
The other element of that, and you touched on it, an edge of it there, which is, it's not just about the hardware, it's about the game engines you use, what their capabilities, how you optimize and get the best, how you squeeze as much as you can out of the power of the hardware. And Epic Games, the Unreal Engine 5, we're barely starting to see games with it. It's still in its early stages. Yes, Unreal 5 engine is going to be used for games that will probably end up on the Oculus 3, okay? But Sony have got strong ties with Epic Games. And obviously a lot of the showcases that they've done a lot of collaboration. I think that Unreal 5 and its VR capabilities, I just think Sony and Epic Games are up to something. And I think it also ties in with, which happened with the last round of investment they did, about their talks about the Metaverse. Epic Games have done on flat screen this kind of Metaverse. We talk about Fortnite and the live shows and performances. I remember when there was the Star Wars thing and the Millennium Falcon landed in Fortnite, and J.J. Abrams came out with some of the cast, I think it was, and then they talked about a clip, and then they showed a clip of the upcoming Star Wars movie where everyone's emoting in Fortnite, and then they basically just gave everyone lightsabers, and then you were having lightsaber fights with everyone with you. Like, just really cool experiences like that. And this was years ago.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring this up is it's kind of, there's so many layers. There's the hardware, there's the game development aspect, there's the IPs, and then there's also the deals that have been going on. And Sony seems to have positioned themselves perfectly because they've got a brand new console that is absolutely smashing it. They've got a brand new headset that's coming out that's going to be really cutting edge. They've got a massive stable of brilliant IPs that always like to innovate and move into new spaces. They have had a track record of these game developers optimizing for hardware, and to the end of this, the console cycle, blowing our minds. I just think of The Last of Us Part 2 and how amazing that looked. And it was like, oh my God, this is at the end of a console cycle. And they've been very strategic with their partnerships. They've been making bold moves, whether it's with Bungie that they've just sold the deal, or with now Epic Games and things like that. Yeah. So I kind of think that, again, I think Oculus is going to be doing amazing things, but I think that Sony has got basically every piece of the puzzle that they're leading on, arguably. And so Oculus might do well in some ways, and people that want to stay Team Oculus, much love for you, because a lot of them may have never played PSVR or have any connection with those IPs, and that's totally fine. Like, they might just go from Oculus 2 to 3 and be like, this is a massive improvement. I love it. Right. And that's amazing. That's really, really good. But I think that when it comes to this competitive, the competition of like the stage of gaming in VR, because obviously there's the Metaverse aspect, which I think Oculus might start having the edge on, which we can get to in a moment. I think Sony have just got their pieces all in the right place.
We have a lot to cover.
That was me trying to tie a lot of elements together, but that's the thing; it's such a big area.
I'm gonna go through some tips, and I think this will help us cover some of the topics that we need to cover. But though not the first one. Intercept with the $10 tip says, in the Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 trailer, when the man falls on the car, the animation on the hands appeared to show that the player isn't in control of them. This could mean that some sort of cutscene will appear. I really hope not. I really do hope that you never lose control of your character in Saints and Sinners Chapter 2. I think that losing control of your character is something that needs to happen less and less and less with VR games moving forward. Obviously, there are exceptions to the rule, but Saints and Sinners was such a VRAF game that losing control of your character seems like a kind of a silly move, a silly step in the wrong direction to me. What do you think, Miles?
I mean, I don't know if that is going to be the case. I mean, there was even talks about it with the new Resident Evil, right?
Right. Opening the door and all of that,
yeah. Yeah, because wasn't it to do with like when the arms appear and when they don't?
Yeah. Which I've lost sleep over, Miles. I can't even sleep anymore. Ever since that person brought it up, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of I'm just gonna wait and see.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got Nihilist Ryan, the Game Feline, here with the $5 tip. Says, "Happy Friday, Stray Cats. I feel like PSVR2 and Meta are like Sony and Nintendo. One for hardcore gamers, one for the kids and newbies." It's an interesting take, Nihilist Ryan. I do think, I don't want to say kids and newbies. I do feel like there is a more of an element of casual gaming, and that is such a fucking broad thing to say when it comes to Quest. But I do think that Meta's been able to capitalize more on the casual market along with some hardcore gamers. Anytime I see somebody talking about why the Quest is so great, they're always saying, some people are out there saying, I don't want AAA games. I really like these pick up and play games like Pistol Whip and Super Hot VR and these kind of things. And that to me screams, and it's going to sound pejorative, but I don't mean it pejoratively. It screams casual gamer to me, because I think hardcore gamers want to play those things, but they also want their AAA experiences.
Yeah. And it's not to say that the Quest won't have those experiences. It's just like it's where are they going to lean into? Where are their advantages? And I think the casual gamer experience, I think, and the reason I bring up the Metaverse being their priority is because I think it is where they have a clear advantage over Sony. I mean, I don't want to get, I say off topic, it is on topic, but this could go in a whole other direction. But I mentioned in the past about PlayStation Home, and one of the things that PlayStation has against it is if you are going to have a social space where people can just walk around and talk to each other, there's an argument that for Sony as a brand, they would want to be able to moderate that. And that is why I think then Grand Theft Auto Online did so well, because it's Grand Theft Auto Online. You can scream the F word at each other because that's a part of the of the world that you're in. I kind of feel that Oculus and Meta is less about. I mean, answer this for me because I don't know exactly, but the metaverse that they're building and sort of these social experiences. From interviews I've seen with the developers, and whether it's Carmack or it's Zuckerberg, they talk about, and I know that people are going to laugh at this, the democratization, the fact that they're about creating a platform for developers then to create these social spaces. Mm-hmm. And by doing it, I think that gives the best opportunity for the metaverse to thrive, because then it's not them feeling that, oh, okay, this is impacting our brand of the way it's being used. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the same with Dreams. Great platform. And I remember speaking to devs at EGX in the UK, and I said to him, when it comes to Dreams and someone creates a Super Mario level, at what point do you have to pull it down for, using IP that they don't have the rights to? Because you could, and what if they do it that it's a parody? Where do you draw the line of allowing it to stay up and not? And they basically said, as an unofficial rule, well, if Nintendo flags something and it has to be taken down, then we'll do it, unless it's clearly egregious. But that's kind of the issue when it comes to the metaverse and like ownership. If you say this is our platform and this is our game, there's more pressure for you to moderate it. And I think that anything Sony does is going to have that problem in the metaverse space compared to Meta, that are going to be more about democratizing it and just allowing devs to get creative with it and do what they can.
I feel like Sony already understands the metaverse better than other people claim they understand the metaverse, right? Sony's already had PlayStation Home. PlayStation Home was a better metaverse than anything I've heard anyone talking about in recent years. Like, it's just, it was a virtual space for you to hang out with your friends and just kind of like go off and do these activities. I feel like they understand it in a way that doesn't have to be like the most. There are opportunities in something like PlayStation Home to monetize, cosmetics or events or whatever. But I feel like it's not their overarching focus. I feel like if Meta gets their metaverse up and running, it's. I just feel like their reason for doing it will 100% be, hey, how can we get more money out of you guys every single time you turn your headset on? That is a feeling. There's nothing backing that up whatsoever. I just feel like that Sony and Facebook operate very, very differently from each other, and that's how I see their metaverses going. That aside, Here, you know, let's do the next tip so we don't get too far behind here. Donatello, the scientist game cat, with a $10 tip. Says gamers will buy multiple consoles, while casual gamers will buy what's popular combined with price. Which headset has the best chance to get casual gamers and why? This is an excellent point, Miles, right? We don't know how much Cambria or Quest Pro, whatever they're going to call it, is going to be, but I've heard speculation that's going to be upwards of like $800 to $1,000.
But you only need to buy the headset.
But you only need to buy the headset, which kind of almost puts it on par with buying a $400 to $500 PlayStation 5. It's like impossible to find the digital one, right? So you're pretty much buying a $499 physical PlayStation 5 console, plus likely a $400 headset. So now you're at $900. It's isn't it the same, Miles? He sets you up for a very obvious answer.
Well, I was going to say that if let's say hypothetically, Oculus 3 is $800, and the combined price of getting a PlayStation 5 and the PSVR2 is $800. For casual gamers, would they look at that comparison and go, well, if I go on the PlayStation for $800, I get a console and a headset? Or do they think, oh, but if I go PlayStation, I've got to have a console as well? Like, you know, like value-wise. Because on the one hand, you might go, you're getting more for your money. But on the other side, you might be going convenience and the casual aspect. I just want the headset. I want something that I can just plug in and play. Even if, you just plug in the console and away you go. Do you know what I mean? Like, for casual gamers, that might be a calculation that they think, I just want something that's convenient, and just having a headset that plays games is what I want.
I mean, maybe. It's very, very possible. I don't think casual gamers are going to look at $800 and go, yep. Right? It's why the Quest 3 the Quest 2 sold so well over the last couple of years. It's because it was so cheap. Parents could be like, my kid wanted to get into VR, throw it under the Christmas tree. $300 is, comparatively speaking, it's way cheaper than buying a PC. Like that's up to great VR specs. Everything can run. Everything that gets put out on the Quest 2 can run on the Quest 2. Like that's just how it's built. And so, there's a simplicity factor. There's the price factor, and I think the $300 price point is exactly the price point you need to be at to attract the casual gamer. As soon as you release something for $800, $900, $1,000, suddenly you're like, wait a minute, I can get a PlayStation 5 and a PSVR2 headset for this price? Dude, most people aren't me. Most people also play flat screen games, right? In fact, most people, even when PSVR2 blows everyone's mind, most people will still be like, yeah, VR is great, but I'm still going to mostly play flat screen games. I'm going to every so often throw on this VR headset. And I think that's the thing people are missing, is that the PlayStation 5 is great for casual gamers. It's great for flat screen gamers. It's great for people who just love Sony's AAA studios. It's great for everything. And then on top of it, for the same price of buying a Quest Pro, you're also going to be able to have a PSVR2 headset, which by all accounts is going to fucking blow everyone away. And so I think when it comes down to price, PlayStation 5 I think is on track, or will be back on track once supply meets demand, to be as ubiquitous as the PlayStation 4 was. There was a PlayStation 4 in like every single gamer's household, right? It was just, families just had one, right? And then like hardcore gamers also bought a Pro, right? And so I think you get to this point where you're like, you're not even considering, I have to buy a $500 PlayStation 5, because we have a PlayStation 5. We've been trying to get one since launch, and that's not even in consideration when you talk about the headset anymore, because you either already own one, or you've been trying to get one, or you're going to buy one eventually, regardless of VR. So I think it really does come down to the headset price and then what it offers. People are just going to have a PlayStation 5. Sony's kicking ass, man.
It is, but the question, I mean, I still regard us as being in the launch window, even though it's been 2 years for the PS5, because as mentioned before, I regard a launch window personally as the moment up until you can go into a store and get one readily available. That when we hit that point, that's when I'm kind of like, we're out the launch window now. Supply is meeting demand. Something that Sony may have factored in is they've actually projected that by March or Q1 of next year, we will be at that stage where the console will be readily available, and they're like, well, that's when we can release the VR headset, because then there's no barrier to entry. The only barrier to entry is people that don't have the money to buy both. which is going to be a big investment, no matter how you try and split it.
Yeah.
Which makes me think about what is going to be the offering at launch, because we know it's going to come with the orbs, but is it going to come with a selection of games with it? You know, look, we talk about the PSVR collection.
The Plus collection,
I kind of feel like, especially in the current climate with the economy, and that was again what inspired, and we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago on our PSVR Plus collection. That, you know, that was inspired by the fact that they knew that times were tough, and they're going to have to. I think that the case for that is going to be even more, partly because the economy is even worse now, but also to have a PSVR2 is going to be even more expensive, and so that could also be a tipping point. Because if you like, I can buy this and I'm going to have access to 10 great games at launch.
Yeah,
that's also going to be a really good. Because, I mean, how many AAA games are on Quest 2 or have been released on Quest 2 compared to PlayStation VR? Is it that Quest has way more, or I don't know?
Well, I
don't know what the split is.
You know, the answer is none. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if you're not talking about PC VR, which we're not during this conversation specifically,
right? Okay,
Because PC VR is always going to be this like separate entity where, like, you know, like people with high-end machines and developers who want to push the envelope, they're always going to be there. But when it comes to Quest, I can't think of a single AAA game that is a Quest 2 game like that you can play untethered, and you can point to something like Resident Evil 7 that was a AAA game 20 years ago. But does that fucking count? You know, like, do we say, oh yeah, AAA games from 20 years ago absolutely count as current gen AAA? No. And in fact, like, the whole conversation about AAA on VR, I think needs to be readdressed. Like, right, we need to revisit this argument and say, because people are like, oh, Blood and Truth is a AAA VR game. And it's like, absolutely fucking not. It's not, right? It's like, it looks really good and the voice acting is amazing and there's all these scripted moments, but you know, put that on a flat screen, that's a $20, $25 game. I feel like I've said this like 30 times in the last week. I don't know why. I was like, sorry, Blood and Truth. Sorry, London Studio. I don't know why I'm like out here trying to, like, you know, burn you guys in effigy or something. But even like something like Saints and Sinners, which I find to be an amazing, amazing game, right? Like, put that on the flat screen and then start comparing to other flat screen games, and you're like, okay, this is not AAA, right? And so, yeah, it's for a game to be AAA on Quest right now, currently, you know, they're talking about San Andreas, another 20-year-old AAA game, right?
Yeah.
This is just sort of like, okay, well, we know what the headset's capable of, and it's capable of AAA games from 20 years ago. And it sounds disparaging, but it's just been the case. It's absolutely just how things are. You know, and that's not bad, but it's also it could be very much signaling moving forward. Sony's got 20 first-party studios, most of them making AAA games. Facebook has, like, and for whatever reason, it's really hard to find the information, like, just like listed on a Wikipedia page somewhere. I was trying to find all the studios that Facebook's bought over the last few years, and they've got good studios, but they're like, you know, they're like big box who made Pop One. They're crap, I know I have this listed somewhere, but they're very much smaller studios, right? Even like Ready at Dawn, who made like The Order 1886, so far has not made like big AAA games on the Quest. So it's been very, very interesting. Looper the Underground Game Cat with the €5 says, I think Sniper Elite VR is as close to AAA as it gets on Quest 2. And you might be right? But Sniper Elite definitely feels to me like a polished indie game.
I was just going to say that, like, there's a lot of conversation in the chat around casual gamers, and I find it really interesting thinking about the pipeline of, you know, going from a casual gamer or just becoming a casual gamer, and then how that develops. And I remember that I think it was like 2 or 3 months into the PlayStation 5 being launched, there was articles explaining that. And I'm not going to be able to pull up the stats at the moment. I'd have to look it up again. But it was at a point where they were saying, at the start of the launch of the PlayStation 5, more people had bought a PS5 that had never owned a PlayStation or console before than those that bought them and had a PS4 already, which was exciting because of the pandemic. A lot of people were like, now's the time to jump into gaming. I think that to be a VR gamer, casual, okay, maybe different, but to be like a PSVR2 gamer or a PSVR gamer, that's not the first thing you jump to. I think you have to be a flat screen gamer first, as a general rule, right? And so it's going to. I think that the wave of new. I think that the demand for the PSVR2 is going to surge a lot more this time, because you've got a lot of people that have jumped into the PS5 space are going to be blown away by what's on offer, and it's like, actually, should we try see what VR is like? Well, we've got a PS5. Let's go for it.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a lot of it. It's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
Right. You know, you look at games like, it's funny because I actually just found all these studios again. You look at games like Asgard's Wrath. You look at games like Lone Echo. These are the studios that Facebook owns who make these games. And it's like, well, what are those games? Right. If you're unfamiliar with VR, you don't know what those games are. But you do know whether you're just getting into gaming or not, or you've been around forever, you know what Horizon Zero Dawn is, right? You know what Gran Turismo is. You know what Ratchet and Clank or whatever the fuck Insomniac decides to make. You know these IPs. You know Resident Evil, right? And this has been something that's been really, really neglected, I think, over the past 6 years, ever since Sony came onto the scene, is that recognizable IPs have not been utilized in VR out of whatever fear or whatever reason or technical limitations. Instead, we get games like, Shadow Legend or Immortal Legacy, or games that just no one's ever heard of before, that are trying to sort of capitalize on the lack of these AAA games on the platform. And I think that's all going to change, right? And so if you're a gamer, or you're just getting into gaming, or you're asking your friends, hey, I want to buy a PlayStation 5, what game should I buy? Suddenly you're going to go, oh, and I can play these in VR as well, right? We don't need to talk for the next 20 minutes, Miles, about hybrid games, but hybrid games are going to be what's convinced a lot of people to try VR for the first time. And where are those hybrid games going to be? They're going to be on PlayStation VR 2. Because that's Sony's MO now. That's their MO for this generation.
The other component of that is multiplayer games. If it's Among Us, Star Trek Bridge Crew, I'm thinking like on the PSVR. A lot of these popular IPs, and I remember like even showing friends that didn't have VR, but the stuff they loved watching clips of was like, yeah, this is what Bridge Crew is. You're literally on the Star Trek Enterprise with your friends, and you're doing stuff together. And they're like, really? So one of you's the captain, and one of you's doing like the whole integrity and stuff like this. And multiplayer is always the thing that brings people in. I mean, that's the model, whether it's FIFA or Call of Duty. Yeah. You have a massive pool of gamers. People want to play where other people are playing. And we saw the complete opposite of that with a lot of titles for PSVR. Solaris. What a shame that became, because you go on, it's like, oh, I'm just playing in lobbies with bots now. That's a shame. And but it also means that you can say to your friends, get a VR headset and let's play together. Like, we can literally play this game together. And so I think that's going to be a big component of it. So the combination of great IPs, hybrid games, because hybrid games multiplayer, I think we mentioned this on last week's show, actually, the idea that I'm in VR, I'm playing with a friend on the flat screen version. It can be done at Rec Room at the moment. And they're going, wait, Miles, you're actually in the game right now. Right. And I'm like, yeah, this is, look, I'm waving at you and like, doing all this sort of stuff. And they're like, oh my God, I've got to try this sometime. And they might not think it the first time, but the second time they play with you, or the third time, and, they start seeing how people who are in the VR are behaving differently. And they're like, they're sat there on their couch and they're like, I want to be in there. I want to be in there. And, the best marketing in the world, in this social media world at the moment, is shared experience. It's seeing someone have a great experience with something who says, you need to experience this now. Come check this out. And that's going to be a huge part of this.
It's true. We got Darth Vader the Game Cat with the $10 tip. Says PSVR2 will be all about AAA games with amazing features like haptics. Quest Pro has a lot to live up to from PlayStation's new headset. Yeah, I mean, I do. It's absolutely true. But without actually seeing what the Quest Pro is going to be all about, I don't want to jump the gun and just be like, oh, it's going to be crazy different. Right now, we have to kind of err on the edge of caution and say, hey, who knows what they have up their sleeves? If they don't mind charging an arm and a leg for this thing, or taking a huge loss on the next gen Quest, then we could see something that's really, really insanely powerful. And Facebook has an infinite amount of money, so they can just keep buying studios, right? And they can just buy their way in, like Microsoft did years ago. So anything is possible right now. John Martins with the $5 tip says, hey, I just wanted to clarify, the Cambria is aiming for the high-end VR enthusiasts, and the Quest Pro or Quest 3 will launch in 2023 for gamers, Quest 2 price. Nope. I mean, like, legit, no one fucking knows. It's great if you believe people's speculation. It's great if you, like, just want to go, oh, yeah, I'm sure, whatever. There's so much that we don't know, and that's the assumption a lot of people have. But as far as I'm concerned, it seems like the Cambria is now the Quest Pro, which really throws a wrench in the works, because initially Cambria seemed like, again, talking to people behind the scenes, this was going to be like, less about gaming. But if you ask me, Facebook realized they can't branch off their line of headsets and be like, well, this one's for professionals and this one's for gaming. What would the point of that be? What would the point of that be? You're going to lose sales. It'd be impossible to message it properly, right? And that's why we're seeing the name Quest Pro roll around, is because they had to find a way to just be like, we need to combine these things. There's no way in hell. I would stake multiple pizzas on it. We do not see two different types of Quests come out in the next year. Not a chance. Not a fucking chance. The market is not big enough for that. And I think Facebook, despite their insanity, I think they're smart enough to understand that.
Yeah.
John Martins. Why do I keep saying Martin? I keep on saying Martinez because I can't read.
Martinez. Put an E in your name, mate.
There's no E. It's John Martins. Follows up with a $2 tip. It says PSVR2 will be for PS5 owners, PS5 owners, and Quest 3 for everyone else. We'll see, man. We will absolutely see. And I want to be clear about something, right? I'm from everything I've seen, from everything I've heard, PlayStation VR2 seems like it is set to be a winner, and that Sony has learned a lot of lessons, and that they actually do really care about making sure that there's AAA VR games for us to play, whether they be first party or third party or however they need to do it, whether they be exclusive or hybrid. I mean, they're going to be there, right? Because they know full well that things didn't go well on PSVR 1, that even though we enjoyed the ride, we really needed to have those AAA games like speckled in far more frequently, and because we went sometimes a year between AAA releases, and that was just not what people were looking for. People want AAA experiences, and so shit. I think the fever just kicked in. What were we talking about?
VR. We're talking about virtual reality.
Oh, not VR. Shit, man. I wasn't prepared for this conversation.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Shit. Oh, competition. That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
So despite the fact that I know, I'm really sorry, guys. Like the fact I shouldn't have done any GAMESCAST live all week long. So thank you guys for bearing with me. Sony's always at their best when it comes to, when they're faced with competition. We want PlayStation VR2 to succeed. We want, but in all fairness, we don't want them to succeed without competition. I want Quest 3 or Quest Pro or Cambria or whatever the hell Facebook decides to shove out next. Want it to be comparable, because if there's no competition, if the only competition is PC VR, that's not really looked at as competition, right? That's like a bonus market for Sony. It's not direct competition as far as I'm concerned. And so if Quest is out there selling a similar priced headset with similar experiences, then Sony's really going to have to put their foot on the gas and push it hard, because they need to stay relevant. Because there will be people out there who say, well, if I can play almost the same game without a wire attached to my head, well, then why would I play it with a wire attached to my head? And so there needs to be a substantial difference between the two headsets, and Sony does not want to end up with their back against the wall. Sony's always at their best when their back's against the wall, because it means they have to fucking try, right? Whenever they don't have to try, whenever they're on top, you always see like this dip where it's just like, you're seeing it right now. Like, we don't
I
have
was
to
gonna say,
talk
we've
about
seen
anything.
it with this generation. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
We don't have to talk about anything. So guess what? We're not going to talk about anything. And so we're seeing it happen right now. So we need them to kind of be a little bit scared because it's going to benefit everybody. I want there to be competition because that's the only way the VR industry is going to move forward and keep expanding. It's going to be the most important thing. It'll force Sony to use their marketing power. It'll force Sony to stop just relying on PlayStation blog posts. They have to come at it from every angle to compete because Facebook, again, infinite amounts of money. So Sony's going to have to get creative because Sony doesn't have infinite amounts of money. All right, just get really hot in here.
Nah, that's it. I think that's a really good way to conclude the conversation, really, because
Nice.
because that is exactly it. I think about not even just about the complacency aspect, but look at what happened with Xbox and Game Pass. Sony then had to think about, right, how are we going to respond? Well, we don't want to give a direct Game Pass offering, but they've also said we've had to consolidate PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now, and it's that whole thing of they speak to the media and go, yeah, this is not a direct response to it, but it is a response to it, doing it on your own terms. And that's exactly what's going to happen with VR. Is they're going to say we're not directly in competition with Oculus, but we are going to respond because it does change the market. And that's exactly what we're going to see.
Absolutely. And just to finish it off, we got Old Darth, the PSVR2 gaming hound dog, with a Canadian $2 tip, says consumers look for the best bang for the buck, and that equals PSVR2. Again, a lot of this conversation is speculation. Right? I've always been on the side of PlayStation. I've always owned as many consoles as I could afford, but I've always loved PlayStation ecosystem the most. Ever since the PS1, I've absolutely loved everything they've done. Right? They've certainly made some weird choices and they've gone down the wrong path here and there. But whenever push comes to shove, I always look back at these catalogs and it's always about the games. Why did I prefer the PlayStation 1 over the Saturn or the N64? Why did I prefer the PlayStation 2, the underpowered PlayStation 2, over the superpowered Xbox and GameCube? Right? Why do I continually stick with PlayStation? It's always because of the game library. And so power doesn't mean everything. Power is important in this next gen of VR, but it's still not the deciding factor. I think we're getting to the point where a little difference in power isn't going to be the deciding factor over which headset is the best. It's the games. And Sony so far has shown us Horizon Call of the Mountain, which is already a bigger step than they took with PSVR1. We never saw a God of War outside of the initial Shuhei Yoshida presentation, which was just a tech demo. We never saw any first-party Sony game. I guess Gran Turismo. That's a fucking lie, but not even fully. They didn't even jump in fully. They just kind of dipped their toes in, and so I think we're going to see Sony's commitment soon. It's going to be about the games, and I think that's what I hope. I should say, because I don't know the answer. I hope that they're serious about the hybrid model, and I hope that they are serious about PSVR2 the way we think they are, because that only spells good things for the gamers, and hopefully Oculus is paying attention and realizing that if we sell this business-oriented professional Quest that isn't for the gamers, that's pointless. Games are what your audience want. Facebook, give the gamers games. Period. Whew. Dude, I swear to you, this show's going to be over and I'm going to be like, did we do a show tonight? Because
in a minute, you're going to wake up and it's like, shit, Gamecast is in 20 minutes. I need to get ready.
I just had this dream where I prepared the entire thing. It's great. I'm ready to go. Maybe we can streamline it to under an hour.
Notes there. Yeah.
All right, man. Very good discussion. Thank you, everybody in the chat for keeping it respectful. Hopefully we kept it respectful. Hopefully we're not just coming across as crazy Sony fanboys. I've been playing my Quest a lot more recently. I've been playing PCVR for the first time after hooking it up once like a couple of years ago. I'm actually spending more time with PCVR, and I really do love VR, the industry as a whole. And again, that's really, really looking forward to everything moving forward together. So thank you guys out there for participating in the conversation and keeping it really respectful. It means a lot to me. But now it's
Well
time for
done,
the
chat.
respect to go out the door because it's time for PSVR 20 questions where I'm taking the role of the host and I've got a PlayStation VR game up in this head, but it's like really sweaty. I hope I don't sweat it out before the end of this. You got 6 minutes, Miles. 20 yes or no questions. Guys, make sure you help him. Make sure you help him. Help him with good questions. And then once you hear the answers to the questions, make sure you give him some good suggestions as to what game it might be. You got cold yogurt with the $10 tips as I caved and I built a 380 Ti rig. Was a dream of mine. Hope PSVR2 comes out soon. I can now play VR games on ultra settings. That's awesome. Ooh. You got cold yogurt. Thank you so much for the tip. Yeah, I'm actually totally shocked by that poll earlier. The fact that more people hadn't jumped ship from PSVR1, absolutely crazy to me. But that's again very, very much our audience. So I understand that it's a skewed result. Miles, are you ready for PSVR 20 questions?
Never ready, but we're gonna do this.
All right, I'm gonna put 6 minutes up on the clock. The clock up on the counter. On your mark, get set. I totally forgot what game this was. Hold on. Okay, go.
Do you use sticks? Analog sticks?
No.
No sticks. Cool. Move control, guys. Does the game? Do you collect resources or a currency? Like, yeah.
No.
Is it based in reality? Would you say? Is it realistic? Current day reality?
No. Which is a tricky question, but let's go with no.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I don't know if this is like one of the worst questions ever to be asked on 20 questions, but we'll find out.
About to be.
Do you play as a human?
No.
Ah, okay.
Not yeah, it's interesting. Not to my knowledge, no.
Yeah. Okay. I would sort of say, do you play as a traditional human? Like, okay.
Yeah, you know what the funny thing is like I don't think the game ever really tells you what you are.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Cool. Is there multiplayer?
No. That's 5.
I assume there wasn't. Yeah. No multiplayer. Are there puzzles? Are puzzles a significant part of this game?
I wouldn't say puzzles, no.
Okay.
It's I do want to clarify it. You could classify some of what you're doing in this game puzzle-like.
Yes.
But again, I don't think you're really sitting there scratching your head going, "How the hell do I do this?"
Okay, so are you overlooking a third-person character?
Oh, you mean like a Moss or an Astrobot type thing?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Is there full locomotion?
No, there's not.
Are there vehicles?
Can you specify? Can you be more specific about?
During the game, do you get into a device that you control to get around?
No.
Okay.
I think you can extrapolate that. There are vehicles in the game. You just can't control them.
Oh man, I'm like, how are we doing for time?
You're about halfway there, and still got 11 questions left.
Would you do you class it as a good game?
Yeah. Yep. And that's 10.
Does the game contain dragons, ninjas, robots, or angry grandmas?
I'm sorry. The list again?
Dragons, ninjas, robots, or angry grandmothers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Angry grandmothers.
An angry grandma was in this game. Okay. That's the takeaway.
Right.
I mean, guys, I am leaning on robots in this game. Oh man, genuinely. Is the art style cartoony?
Yes.
Is it sci-fi?
I mean, technically, yes. It's not what you think of when you're playing, but technically, yeah, that's the theme of this. Yep.
How many are we on? I got.
You have 7 questions and a guess, and you've only got a minute left, so you better speed up the question asking.
Oh my god. Is it a known IP? Is it based on a known IP?
No, this was new for VR.
Does it have multiple games, or is it? Yeah.
No, this is
like
a compilation.
Sequels or stuff?
Different.
No, it's like, are there multiple? Have they got sequels or prequels?
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. That's 15.
Do you go on vacation in one of these games?
In this game, you do not go on vacation in this game.
Okay, scrap that question.
Hurry up! Hurry up!
Does this game have lots of different mini games?
Yes. Hurry up!
Okay. Is it Job Simulator?
It is Job Simulator by Alchemy Labs, launch title for PlayStation VR. One of the best-selling PlayStation VR games of all time. However, almost never makes our top 25 list, considering it's one of the most popular games out there. Good job, Miles. Came in just after the bomb blew up, but considering some of my wacky responses to your questions, you totally
bomb didn't kill me, so I'm fine. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, suddenly like everything. I started overthinking all the answers to all the questions. I was like, it is absolutely 100% sci-fi, right? I mean, just the concept alone is like here we are. And are we playing as a human who goes and like gets to experience these things, or are we playing as a robot who is going to experience human jobs? I don't actually know the answer to that question, which is really strange. I've platinumed this game and I still don't know.
Yeah, the way I should have phrased it is like, do you play a human that like you can actually see, like, kind of thing? Because a lot of these VR games you're playing as just a floating entity, and it's Yeah,
Nicole the GameCast said you're a human in Job Simulator, right? Serial Killer says you're supposed to be human. Okay. So
I thought you might have been a robot trying to just experience what humans used to do.
Yeah, see that's where I was lost. I'm like, I think we are playing as a human. It's part of the narrative. Okay, you're a human at a museum. Okay, so robots are taking over.
Are there grandmas in it? Are there grandmas in it?
I don't think so. No. Definitely robots. Yep, guys, we got to get out of here. This has been a longer show than anticipated, but thanks for hanging out with us. It's been awesome. Make sure you subscribe to Miles over at Miles Dyer. It's the greatest URL ever. Literally youtube.com/Miles. It's great. Guys, thank you to everybody. It was awesome hanging out with you guys. Thank you for giving me a reason to get out of bed today. I don't think that's going to last, however. Listen, don't forget to join us over on Discord. Feel free to support us on patreon.com/withoutparolegames. I promise more exclusive content is coming for all tiers. And of course, Wes and I are about to do an exclusive Why We Love for the $5 tier. I've got to do an AMA soon. So all sorts of good stuff happening over there. And really just do your absolute best to stay out of the heat and stay hydrated. Thank you to everybody who hung out, helped Miles in the chat. Thank you to everybody who supported us, not just on Patreon, but over here with tips. And all of you sat back and watched the show and didn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there. And we love you just as much. Happy weekend, everybody.
Have a great weekend. Oh, much love.
I love it, man. I love it. We got Twitch of the Single Player Game Cat in the chat says, you are definitely 100% a robot. And I say this is someone who's never played the game. Oh,
so,
yeah.
So, Brian, do you know what else I like other than robots?
Grannies?
Yeah. There's some pretty nice grandmas out there, for sure.
I bet there are, yeah.
I also love, when you're playing games like Rec Room and stuff, and you come across the really. I love it when you come across players that are friendly, respectful, take responsibility for their actions, and don't lie. Because if there's anyone in here that doesn't like lies, it's Miles Two Lies Dyer. Too wise, Dyer. And would you agree with that?
I don't know, Miles. Do you have an example of what you're talking about?
Yeah, I do actually. I have someone who's. Yeah, let's just put it out there and just see what the chat thinks. This was just someone I bumped in on Rec Room. It was just an unusual occurrence in Rec Room. No one will relate to anything like this.
Let's check it out.
I'm gonna shoot you, bitch.
Did you call me a bitch?
No. Shut up.
You're on my stream, so everyone saw you call me a bitch.
I don't kill you, bitch. I don't call you a bitch. You are a bitch. There are no lions. I'm speaking. Waar is de tv? Zeg maar recht hier. I'm gonna go shoot you. Bye.
You're very nice.
Hey, don't fucking cuss to me, you prick. Fuck you.
I don't think.
Do you know what I love is I got auto captions on YouTube, so as I'm watching it back and seeing how it's like translating what he's saying, and I'm watching it on a delay, so I'm watching the bit now where the guy swears at him, and it says, what does it say? Shoot you, you're very nice. That is not what he said, YouTube.
Not what he said. YouTube is sanitizing it for us. This is, Orseek says, this is 110% why I don't play Rec Room. This is the Rec Room experience for anyone who hasn't played it. This is why you have to play private, because if you just walk in, you will absolutely experience this within minutes of playing Rec Room otherwise.
I just love the contrast of, I was just like, I'm not going to take the bait. This is a kid, but I do like doing that. Is when people do say random stuff, I often do ask them what they mean, and it's one of the most disarming things you do. I could give lots of examples in the last week of Rec Room, people saying stuff that is quite outrageous, and instead of just going "F you," I just go, "What do you mean by that?" And then they often go, "Oh, actually, I didn't mean that. I'm sorry." Like they feel really bad. Whereas him, I loved unapologetic. I didn't call you a bitch, you bitch. And then I'm just like, and then I turn away and play basketball. And what I also like is when you normally film your view on VR, the shaky head and that doesn't normally get a good shot. But like, I literally look at the basketball net and I just hear some screaming. I turn around and there's a guy just saying probably what a lot of people watching were like, that's what Miles wanted to say. Fuck you. And then he just storms up the stairs, to which the kid then follows him. Like he feels bad. Like, what have I done? This is why we can't have nice things, Brian.
This is why we can't. I'm taking back everyone's nice things. Please leave them in the chat. I will collect them later. Have a good weekend, everybody. We love you all.
Peace out.